Wow, they actually finally released it. Did you know that Zebec actually recently dropped the keynote of Simon speaking at XRP Las Vegas? Now, there's a lot to uncover here, even though it's not any new information that we didn't really know. But there is one thing in particular which I think silenced some of the critics in terms of what Simon, the CEO of Zebec, actually mentioned at that event. Now, I'll talk all about that in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I am not telling anyone to do anything. So again, at that keynote, we recently saw the actual footage of Simon himself saying how there is a Ripple partnership, which again, it's nothing new. We already knew that, but it was something that I think really kind of silenced some of the critics, because a lot of these critics kept telling me, oh, wow, Simon never mentioned that when it comes to being at XRP Las Vegas. He never said all this. What are you on about? Well, now we hear it himself say that in the actual footage. Now, the reason why I knew he said it from before is because a lot of people posted clips, but Zebec themselves never really posted an official clip. So the more sort of casual holder, they want to know it from Zebec themselves. They don't want to see another person attend the event and record some random video and then repost it, and then people are like, oh, what's that? Is that even genuine? They like to question this. So I get why some people are skeptical from the clips, but again, now we actually see it ourselves. And Simon, speaking at that event, he did reveal that indeed there is a Ripple partnership, and it does really have an aspect of payroll. So again, kind of confirms something that we already knew for quite a while, but still a major victory nonetheless. Now it's about time they actually released this footage. Now people like to tell me, well, why don't you post it? They like to ask me that. Why don't I play it? They ask me that question. Because the other day I was talking about a clip when it comes to Zebec, and someone told me, oh, but you're not posting the footage. Well, I can't, right? First of all, it's not my footage. If I post it, there might be hypothetical issues. So I don't want to do that. For what? Again, Zebec themselves posted it. If people want to watch it, it's their choice, right? But I can't post footage that is not mine. I can't do that. So that's why I'm just talking about it. But nonetheless, it is something that Zebec officially posted themselves recently. So again, I'm just talking about it. But I think the main point here anyways isn't necessarily the whole footage, because it was pretty long. And the most important part anyways was when Simon actually announced the Ripple partnership. The rest is just kind of, whatever. But still, that was something that a lot of people wanted to hear, and now Zebec actually posted the footage. So I think it's pretty cool. A lot of these projects, they're very community driven, so they need to do stuff like this, in my opinion. They really need to update the community. They really need to let them know that, what, the project is doing this is what happened. They need to do that sometimes, because keep in mind, Zebec is not a project that has like 5,000 holders or 200 holders, in which case if they don't really update, there's not really this, I guess, uproar, right? There's not really this major commotion and saying, oh, why isn't there any updates? Again, Zebec is a pretty massive project. It's not a small project where it can get by just by not updating. That's not how it works for a project with over 100,000 holders. Keep in mind, ever since the Stellar partnership, not ever since the Ripple partnership, again, ever since the Stellar partnership got announced, did you know that actually now Zebec has increased by around 10,000 holders ever since then? That's really impressive. That's considering, by the way, the Stellar partnership was announced this year. Kind of ridiculous, right? Not to mention, we have to consider that right there. People like to say, oh, why hasn't it done much to the price of Zebec? Well, it's because the overall broader change in market sentiment hasn't allowed for it to do anything that significant. But we have to consider, where are a lot of these holders taking a look at? Where are the institutions taking a look at? What institutions are partnering up with Zebec? What big projects out there are partnering up with Zebec? That's what I'm going to focus on, because when the market usually isn't doing the best, we have to sometimes take a look at, where are these whales focused on? Where are these big enterprises? Where are these holders focused on? And if I see a project indicating a pattern that, even though the market isn't doing the best, but the amount of holders are increasing, the amount of partnerships are increasing, that indicates something, in my opinion. What could that be? I mean, if it indicates that a lot of people see something fundamentally that is very interesting when it comes to this particular project, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me, considering the amount of holders increasing and also the amount of partnerships increasing. Zebec, in terms of the price charts, did not have a good start to 2026. However, still, around 10,000 holders ever since the Stellar partnership was announced. That's really impressive. So when people like to say, oh, Zebec had a fall from grace, it sucks, it doesn't do much anymore, I don't necessarily agree with that, because last year the market cap was over $500 million slightly. Right now the market cap is around 300 million. But I think arguably, as of right now, Zebec is just way better than last year. I really do believe that. Just take a look at the Ripple and Stellar partnership. That's really impressive. And keep in mind, they released the footage in May. Of course, we're still in the month of May. But there's 2 upcoming major events this month that Zebec is going to be announcing, or kind of something that could be announced, I would say. The reason why I say that is because, first of all, there's going to be, again, I just want to talk and clarify about this, even though I mentioned it before in the past. There's going to be a large bank in Europe that's going to be announcing a partnership when it comes to Zebec, and it's actually going to be regarding the Stellar and Zebec partnership. So it's actually going to mark the first time ever the partnership between Stellar and as well as Zebec being utilized. And what a way to start it off, right, with a allegedly very massive bank in Europe. So that's going to be before the end of this month, allegedly. Another thing that could happen this month is that Zebec is going to be going live with the mystery card. Now, people like to say, what's that? Well, mystery is a meme. And again, it may sound kind of trivial, but allegedly it's going live this month. It may not be the biggest event, but you know what? It is what it is. Mystery is not a big meme either. It's like a market cap that's over 100,000. Not that massive, but yeah, I'm just saying. When it comes to what Zebec has planned for this month, I would say, beyond releasing the footage, there's 2 more things that apparently could be coming. And keep in mind, we're less than like 10 days away from the end of this month. Again, in less than 10 days, there's going to be 2 more major announcements that is going to be happening in regard to Zebec, which is kind of ridiculous in a good way. I don't mean in a bad way, because I actually think that's really impressive. So when people like to say, oh, Zebec, they're done, after the Stellar partnership, after the Ripple partnership, they have nothing else to do. Well, even just in the month of May alone, they still have things planned. Not to mention, Simon, the CEO of Zebec, he even talked about how last year he was thinking about an ETF, or the possibility and the idea of something like that when it comes to Zebec. But then he said that this year, somewhere along the lines of like how he's going to be more focused on the products, which is true. We did see the super app in terms of the desktop version launch earlier on this year. And keep in mind as well, who knows when the mobile version could launch, right? Maybe it could be before the end of this month, or maybe next month, who knows? But they're in the final testing stages when it comes to that. So keep in mind, we're not even halfway through 2026 yet, and Zebec has done a lot of pretty impressive things. That's really, I think, just, again, ridiculous, but in a good way. And keep in mind, ADP, one of the most famous, if not the most famous, I guess, company that's focused on the payroll side of things, that right there, we have to consider as well. Simon, the CEO of Zebec, did mention how moving forward, they could very well work together, somewhere along those lines, working alongside them, basically. So let's take this into consideration. ADP, it's already in the Fortune 500, not only for a year or 2 years, been there for over 30 years. Recently, some people celebrated the 30-year anniversary of ADP being on the Fortune 500. So let's just let that sink in. Not to mention, ADP, again, focus on payrolls, but it's kind of more focused on the traditional side of things in the traditional payroll sense. But when it comes to Zebec, we know that it's focused on instant payrolls. So that could be a very fantastic collaboration right there. So Zebec is not stopping with a Stellar or Ripple partnership or with the Algorand partnership. They're not stopping with that. They're still moving on forward. That's the thing. So when people like to say, oh, is it going to be game over like the Avengers movies? Well, probably not, because Avengers Endgame, that was a really awesome movie. But the Ripple partnership, when it comes to Zebec, that's not the end game for this. They still have hypothetically things to look forward to, at least from what the CEO himself said, who is, of course, Simon, not to be confused with Simon Cowell from American Idol, not that, but I'm talking about Simon, the CEO of Zebec. So when it comes to this project as of right now, I just find it pretty cool that they recently released the footage, finally. Again, pretty impressive, but they're still having things in the works. but I find the updates pretty cool nonetheless. I'll be sure to make more moving forward though, so I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.